It's Monday, March 21st, and we have so much to catch you guys up on. The Redskins have signed 3 new players in addition to re-signing several guys and releasing plenty for good measure. Speaking of released players, a couple of big names are working through new contracts, so we're going to keep you in the loop with that, including Mr. Griffin. Additionally, it's been quite a week in football besides free agency. The AFL is coming to DC. Hulk Hogan is delivering the knockout blow to Deadspin. Plus, we have the results of our Hogstye listener poll. Do you like the new stadium design? Stick around. We're going to go over the spread of opinions right here on the Hogstye.
It's the Hogstye.
And we're back. Thanks so much for being with us, ladies and germs. My name's Sean Conti. The crew is here. Mr. Robbie Duncan.
What's up, brothers?
Oh, I like it. That's Hulk. Hulk, I love it.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Give me an oh yeah, Robbie.
Oh, yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage.
I always like Randy Savage.
That's
more than
Randy
Hulk.
Savage doing the Kool-Aid Man.
Step into a Slim Jim.
What's up, Steve?
That's
How you
the
doing,
late-
Mr. Steve
That's
Thomas? Welcome.
that's the late Randy Savage, and he dead now. I think he
A
died.
lot of the
Yeah,
great
rest in
ones
peace.
from like when I was a kid are all dying.
You know, I was on a quick wrestling story. I was on an airplane sitting next to
Greg the Hammer Valentine years ago. Remember him?
No.
That's a name I
No.
don't know.
Well, he was one of the older guys. You know,
You're probably
came
going
up
back
in
to
the
the 70s with that name.
no,
I like-
early 80s.
I was a big fan of Ravishing Rick Rude.
There you go.
But my point
Wow.
is, I wasn't all that impressed with the guy. To be quite honest, he was more fat than big.
Well, slightly related note, the number of pro wrestlers that are dead from like the golden age of wrestling is kind of shocking. These are guys that should be like in their 40s and 50s. A lot of them have passed away for various
That's what
reasons.
happens when he takes mountains of steroids, I guess.
Right?
I was going to say, it's not shocking when you consider the lifestyle was steroids and cocaine.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're getting thrown from the top turnbuckle every night.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get ladders to the spine and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. Not
Taking
exactly.
a staple to the head doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's still not pleasant.
I keep forgetting how young you guys are. There's people out there listening that know who Greg the Hammer Valentine is.
Yeah, see, anything before The Rock or Stone Cold, yeah, you can count me out.
Well,
Mr. Perfect was a badass, too, though.
when I was a kid, it was Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan. Those were my guys.
Sergeant Slaughter had that power chin.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's sit. We're
It
going
was
off
like-
the rails here, fellas. Let's
All
save
right,
the
yeah,
wrestling.
focus.
Yeah, let's save the wrestling because
like-
we do
sorry,
have
the rest-
Hogan.
I have to say this last comment. It was like Bill Cower to the nth degree.
That
Only
sounds
without
about
the
right.
spit running down his chin.
Right.
Delightful image to start the show off. By the way, I forgot. Alex, you're also here. Alex, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. So that's the whole crew, and we're here ready to go with you guys. We figured we'd start with a nice free agency recap because so much has gone on, and we haven't really had a chance to talk to you guys about it other than our brief conversation with Rich Tandler about Kendall Reyes. So we should go over the other 2 acquisitions we've acquired here in the last week. Starting with, let's go with Mr. Strong Safety out of Denver. Mr. David Bruton. Any thoughts on him? My concern is he's Jaron Johnson Part 2, guys.
Well, David Bruton, first of all, he got a 3-year contract with us, $9.15 million. So
Nice.
that's
It's a little
something.
bit
He was-
bigger.
Yeah, it's a little bigger, and that also probably means the team believes in him a little bit more. I mean, his guaranteed money is only $3.4 million, so it's not like he would stick around if they wanted to get rid of him. But I mean, he's a career backup, but he's a career backup on a good team, and other teams' backups are our starters when it comes to our secondary.
Right.
So he's sort of the replacement for Johnson, Jerron Johnson, who got cut. Look, I mean, people automatically poo-pooed him because he's not a name. Give the guy a chance. He came from a good quality defense. He may be a good player. What do you think, Robbie? Or do you know him?
Well, yeah, David Bruton, he's basically, he was a starter for the Broncos. He's not like a dynamic player. He's not a game changer, but he's a very good safety or special teams player, I should say. And I guess that's just really what it is. He's a depth guy and going to be a special teams demon for us, hopefully.
So maybe
Did
he's
you
more of a, can I say, Reed Dowdy for us?
I'd say
'cause
more
that's
like
what he
Trenton
sounds like.
Robinson. Trenton Robinson wasn't a very good starting safety, but he was a good special teams player. And
Okay.
I think we're just replacing Trenton Robinson.
Did you say Bruton was a starter? I thought he was not a starter.
He was.
a starter?
He was a starter for the Broncos, I think, after Duke left, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was him and TJ Ward in the backfield.
Look, I mean, the thing is, we need players and we need depth at a minimum, particularly in special teams. And we all know how tenuous our safety position is right now. So it can't hurt. We got rid of 2 of them. We have to sign somebody.
Right. So I was just going to say, in terms of the safety position right now, it's Hall, Iannaco, Kaishon Jarrett, and David Bruton. So those are the 4 guys that we're rolling with, I believe, on the squad right now. We definitely need to work out some depth there, especially since we had like 8 safeties at one point last year, didn't we?
It sure seems like we like to use safeties in that nickel package and have one of them play down. Usually Jarrett last year, but maybe.
Well, also remember though that McGloin likes to interchange corners and safety.
Sure.
The team generally likes to interchange them. I mean, so the corners are getting a little bit bigger. I think if you threw a guy like Quentin Dunbar back there in an emergency, he probably wouldn't be terrible. Well, Dunbar may not be a good example since he's just transitioning already. But I think we have players that you could throw back there and not do too bad. That's my point.
Yeah. I think we all agree there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this other fellow. Robbie, you kind of called out that this safety acquisition might be more of a depth thing, and I kind of feel like maybe the same is true for this next guy. We signed inside linebacker. Jesus, I'm blanking on his name. What is it? Terrence Garvin. I sort of hear that the story is the same with him, but does anybody know any specifics on him that might assuage me otherwise?
He's just a special teams guy. He's been a really good one for the Steelers, as I understand. I think he was like a Pro Bowl alternate.
Yep.
I may be wrong. I think that might have been Bruton, whatever his name is. But both guys are just special teams dudes. And I thought I saw somewhere that someone said that Garvin could be a potential starter. He has the potential to be someone like that. But he's still young, so that's the good thing we have is a young guy to add depth to the linebacker position.
Did I see that a photo of him as a kid where he was apparently a Redskins fan?
Yes,
I did not see that.
You did.
Yeah.
No, you did. It was him as a toddler, and his parents were holding him in a posed photo, and they both had Redskins stuff on. That was Terrence Garvin.
You always like to see that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Never complain about that.
I mean, what stuck out to me is that he's not that big. He was 6'2", 230 ish. He's not an overwhelmingly big guy for inside linebacker, which means, maybe he's a type that they're going to have him play in a variety of places, I would think.
Well, but to the
extent he plays on defense at all, maybe he's just going to be a special teamer.
Yeah, I was going to say 6'2", 230, that's the kind of size I want to see in our special teams. We need guys who are going to be a little lighter and get around more.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of jiving with last year. I mean, I don't know how profound this really is. I mean, this is kind of common, but it's just sort of something to note is our first acquisitions last year and this year were kind of versatile special teams players, and we kind of rolled with that, and that's not a terrible thing. So, hopefully he's able to add something there to special teams because Christ knows we can use it.
Yeah. Well, it's worthy of note, I think, that a guy like Hayward, who's supposed to be our special teams team, and he's been hurt 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Right. And so the team's going to have to find somebody new to pick up the mantle, I think. And special teams got a little bit better last year in terms of coverage. There weren't too many just awful, horrible blown plays, so they're getting better. But I don't think the front office is satisfied, particularly when it comes to our return game, which was just, as we know, awful.
Right.
So they're going to have to find these guys, and I think these guys are a guy like Terrence Garvin's far enough down the roster that this is a trust Scott.
Right.
If you look at our glory years, I've always said it, we had very good special teams units during both Gibbs and Allen's era as coaches. I'm liking that we're going to get back to that because it's an underappreciated aspect of how you win football games.
Well, it is, but we also had Mike Nelms and Brian Mitchell.
That's
returning kicks.
Yeah, okay, and we had
they're going to boost the stats.
We had a kicker who was MVP one year of the entire league.
Right.
So,
yeah,
but again, that's valuing the players. That's not making them an afterthought. So
yeah, it's a great point. So the other acquisition that we made was this guy Kendall Reyes. You can of course hit the rewind button and listen to our Tandler interview if you want to get some thoughts from the Tan Man about him. But anything else you guys want to add about Reyes before we talk about our re-signings?
He started for the Chargers. He's a versatile D lineman, going to be a rotational depth guy. So don't count on more than that, really.
He's on a 1-year contract. 2.5 million, 1 million guaranteed. So that's exactly what it is. You can always kind of tell by the contract,
Right.
what the team kind of intends, and I think you can see that he's exactly what Robbie said. He's a rotational depth guy.
Right.
And it's kinda-
I'm just gonna say, people stop quoting Pro Football Focus and saying how terrible he is. I don't care. Steve didn't say it, so I'm
This
gonna
is-
say it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Someone's gotta cover
this
that
show
base.
is an anti-Pro Football Focus.
I'm not completely anti them, but like when people use them as like a Bible, I get annoyed.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not
their
right. It's not
rankings.
gospel.
It's their rankings that really bug me because
Right.
what they do with their rankings. If people don't know why they're a total fraud, is that there are a bunch of guys sitting in a room and they watch these plays and they make a subjective evaluation and then they give them a number and then they do some statistical magic to those numbers and turn them into rankings. And so what they're doing is they're taking subjective views based on people who may or may not be qualified and they're passing them off as legitimate statistics, and that's just almost fraud. That's why I can't stand them.
Yeah, if you want to listen to a bunch of guys in a room, ladies and gentlemen, look no further than your current podcast right now. You can listen to us; we're just as good.
Yeah.
So moving along here, Steve, you kind of scoffed at a $1 million guaranteed, but I know a couple guys that got re-signed that are probably salivating at the thought of $1 million guaranteed.
I wasn't
Let's
scoffing
talk
at
about
it.
some of these re-signings.
Yeah, I wasn't scoffing at him. I just meant, he's a veteran. That's his contract he got.
No, I know.
Shows,
I'm just being silly. But let's talk about some of these guys because they're getting signed for a lot less than that guaranteed, which is completely understandable when I start listing off some of these names. So re-signings wise, let's talk about my man Logan Paulson. Nice re-sign. I guess, you're really hurting a tight end, so why not? He's been with the team a couple years. Keep him around because you can have him for dirt cheap. That's what I take from that.
You
But
need
he has
a
a
blocker.
weird contract.
He does.
He's got an $8.4 million. He's got an $8.4 million contract, but only $35,000 is guaranteed.
That's hilarious, which is kind of understandable. He didn't see the field at all last year, did he? I mean, no, he was injured the whole time. So
No.
He was
but that is
it's a
that
big
is
number
huge
for a
discrepancy.
third string tight end. 8.4 million, man.
I mean, if you look back at, he had 2 or 3 years where he really looked like he could have been our number 2.
Well, 2012. I think 2012 was really it. He had a great year.
And maybe the
2012.
year before that, 2011, I think he was solid. Because
Yeah.
I remember he was backing up Cooley and Davis for a while. So, but
And, I mean,
I think he's
2012.
an underrated player, personally. He's the only guy we have on the roster that has traditional tight end size, and
Right.
traditional tight end skills. He's not ever going to be Tony Gonzalez or Jordan Reed or anything like that, but he's a guy who can get out there, catch a pass or two, and more importantly, he's a quality blocker, at least on
seal
our
the
roster.
edge on the
He
run. We
qualifies.
need somebody who can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say about him, he's got no ups. He's not going to go jumping for the ball and come down with some spectacular catch. He's
No.
got no speed. But like Steve said, he's a guy who can catch a pass. And in 2012, he was the guy that in those crazy RG3 scramble plays, when he'd get the ball off 10 seconds after it was snapped, he was the guy who kept playing through the play
Right.
and ended up with that ball more often than not. So
He got
I like
that
it for
5
that.
yards.
Yeah, even if it's
And
5.
listen,
exactly.
this is a guy who's living the dream. He was undrafted free agent. He wasn't expected to make the roster. He worked his way onto the roster. He's exactly what all of us would have loved to do.
That's right.
And, in the case of Sean, Alex, and Steve, don't have the talent.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
You've never seen one of my long snaps, Steve. Don't talk shit. I can long snap like the best of them. Okay, well, moving right along then to another re-signing of a name that we know and love here on the Hog Style. Let's talk about Mr. Josh LaRib back again. He's got another kind of weird contract, though. It's not quite the same discrepancy as Logan's got. Any thoughts on LaRib? God, do we have to... Should we talk about LaRib anymore?
Oh, Robbie?
Robbie's got some LaRib thoughts. Okay, hit us with it.
All right, to quote The Dark Knight, and I'm going to talk as the Joker here. Sign a couple people for depth. Everybody doesn't panic. That's part of the plan. You re-sign Josh Laribus, and then everybody loses their minds.
He's right.
Seriously, everybody went ballistic.
Yeah. But no, you make an excellent point. Depth.
Well,
who else you got to? Who are you going to play at center? Who's our backup?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no other option.
Well, look, I mean, I've said it before. I was the hardest of anybody on Josh Rebus, but the simple fact of the matter is he got better. He improved as the season went on, and I think he earned his way onto the back of the roster. And for goodness sakes, people, it's a $920,000 contract. Okay,
Right.
It's not going to make or break the team.
He's
right.
not going to be
He'll be
starting
fine.
unless that He's Plan B. He's our Plan B guy right now.
As I've said before, the bias and the what's the word, stigma, it's so strong. No matter what he does, it doesn't matter. He sucks. He's fat. What he did after his rookie year, coming into camp out of shape, it just completely everybody wrote him off and didn't even want to give him the light of day. And he started off rough at center. That you can't deny that. His snaps were bad. Yeah. Stuff wasn't working out, but he got better.
It was his first time doing it.
Yeah, and he was playing hurt at the end of the season too. It's not like he was completely healthy. So he definitely earned a contract to stay, at least fight for another roster spot again.
Sure.
Absolutely. I don't hate seeing him back, and especially with the depth thing. I mean, what other option do you have, like we said? You've got to have
just
people center.
It's people who just weren't paying attention, mainly, are the ones that still hate him.
Yeah. And by the way,
I got better.
If you're complaining about a fat O lineman, I think you don't know what an O lineman is.
Right, exactly. Whereas some guys like Terrence Knighton were able to turn their fatness into like an endearing character trait. LaRib just kind of got nailed for it, which maybe isn't totally deserved. But anyways, happy to see him back. You know what? I hope he continues to get better. I hope he's able to add some depth at that spot. God knows we need it. We need it.
Yeah.
Moving on from him, let's talk about some other re-signings. How about Mr. Will Blackman? That's a cornerback that I think played over his expectations last year. And we brought him back, which I think he also earned his spot on this team.
Well, I'm going to start by saying this is the first guy we brought back that I don't like this move.
Okay.
I'm not a Blackman fan. To me, he was the weak link in our secondary all last year. So
he got lined up against their number one receiver a couple times. The opposing number one receiver, and played admirably.
He was forced to, which, fine, and that is what it is. You could find somebody to replace him in this draft in the third round and who would probably play just as well.
See, I disagree.
Look, I thought Will Blackman was fine. I thought Will Blackman was fine. I mean, he's not supposed to be our number one corner. He got put in some bad situations last year, but we had a lot of injuries. It was a chaotic year. I think he's another guy that folks need to relax over. Is he going to be an all-pro? No. But will he help the team? Yes. And he's a guy, if he sticks around, he's going to be in the program another year, another couple years. It's only consistency is good. Consistency is our friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know the details of his contract.
I have that.
Oh, you do? Okay. I don't believe it's huge. So again,
no.
Actually, all I have is it's just a 2-year contract. I don't actually have the details of it. Sorry.
Well, he's 31. He shouldn't be on like a 5-year deal.
Exactly, and it's not going to be bank breaking money, obviously, either. So, and I think that's actually speaks to a great thing McLuhan is doing, which we should talk about when we get to the end of this little section here. But okay, so we brought Blackman back, another depth at defensive back. He played okay, and I hear what you're saying, Alex. I think he's better than Johnny just graduated. So, we'll see. Hopefully it's something. I doubt that he's on the hook for much money. So. Moving along from him, then, we also, probably the biggest one that we haven't talked about, Junior Gillette. He's back on another 1-year prove-it kind of deal. So happy to see him back. We never got to see him before. So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm all for it.
Absolutely. He is going to be that explosive edge rusher that we need. I mean, Preston Smith is explosive, too. People overlook that, but Gillette's on a different level. He's got the experience, the knowledge of, he's used to the speed of the game. He's got that fire in him. He's going to be bringing it this year, and it's going to be very refreshing to see. He's going to add a lot to our defense. I'm excited.
Absolutely. He seems to have a lot of fire.
Now, Robbie, am I right in thinking that he was the one guy, when you went to training camp, he was the one guy that you said beat Trent Williams?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you tell us that?
Yeah. He did.
I mean, and the reason is because he's got that explosive speed off the edge, right?
Yeah, and not just that, but he has counters to what the offensive linemen do. He's not just a one-trick pony where, if
he's
my
not
move
Brian
doesn't work,
Orakpo.
or Ryan Kerrigan in that matter. He's more of a pass rusher than Kerrigan is. Kerrigan's the power rusher who, I think he does very well at getting sacks off of bad coverage and a push up front, and he's not a guy that just has a move for everything and beats people with all kinds of moves. That's what Junior Gillette is best at. And he's going to be that guy who can really, take some heat off of Kerrigan so he can get more chances to get to the quarterback.
Well, I think it's pretty telling that Ryan Kerrigan never moved to the right edge in spite of the fact that he's been our number one defensive lineman for a couple of years now. If he was that explosive player, he'd be on our right, rushing the blind side of the right-handed quarterback, and that's never what Kerrigan has really done. I think that speaks to really where I think the team sees him as kind of a B-plus player ultimately, whereas Gillette is the guy who's the explosive player who can really be a difference maker. I don't think Kerrigan's a guy that anybody's going to game plan for necessarily. Gillette may be a guy they have to game plan for.
Well, I think having Gillette there might mean, just like to Robbie's point, it might mean you're going to have to game plan for Kerrigan more because Gillette's obviously going to boost the play and the productivity of everybody around him. I would imagine if he's what he's billed as being. So we'll see.
Well, and we'll see. And I mean, he's been posting a lot on social media of him recovering, and the speed looks like it's there. But again, this is him in shorts.
It's hard to tell.
Right.
It is hard to tell. I'm excited about it though. I think we've all said it. You need so much depth at pass rusher to not even say defensive end or outside linebacker. This gives us 3 guys who potentially could be 10 sack a year guys. Murphy then being the 4th is not a bad 4th option. So this could be exciting if we can get through a season healthy, which that's always hard to do in the NFL. But I'm looking forward to seeing Gillette play.
Well, you know who's the most excited about the Gillette signing, right?
Gillette?
Yeah, Gillette is the most excited about the Gillette. This dude, let me tell you, this dude is going crazy on Twitter. He's been giving jerseys away.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love my giveaway guys.
He's been doing all sorts of things. I think he's legitimately – I don't think it's so much the Redskins in particular in terms of – I don't think he has a connection to D.C. or anything like that. I think he's just very appreciative of the fact that after what went down with him in New Orleans and the thing on the beach, that a team gave him a shot. And I think he's a very loyal guy. He seems to me, at least, to be a very loyal guy. And he really wants to do right by the one franchise that stood up for him.
Well, and, we are talking about a guy who has a history of, things not quite going smoothly for him. Let's not pretend that's not the case.
Right.
But you know what? That's when you get like Trent Williams to grab him by the shoulders and shake him and say, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
If we
can be the team that gets him to fly right and he's a dominant player for a couple of years for us, great. I'm thrilled.
Well, he
a lot
wanted
of
that 1
teams
year
do
prove
that.
it deal, and he got it. So he gets his chance.
Yep.
Well, let's just talk briefly then, real briefly, about these other signings that we did. This is kind of old news. I believe this was back on the 9th, but Colt McCoy's back for 3 years, so good for that.
That's good.
We also
much rejoicing.
No, there's nothing really to say about that. Back in January, we signed Kerry Williams. That's another cornerback. Other than that, I think that those are the big acquisitions and re-signings that we've done. Now, if we want to switch here, go ahead.
Well, you forgot about Foster and Compton and Thompson. We mentioned that before.
Yeah. We've
Those
talked
3
about
guys
that,
were on tenders. Yeah, but
Right.
don't forget about them. And Goldston. Did you mention Goldston? We re-signed Goldston.
There you go.
Just won't die.
Death taxes and Kendrick Goldston.
Right. Okay,
I was just about to say that.
Right.
Oh, and Tress Way, we signed a punter to a 5-year deal, so you better earn it, buddy.
Yeah.
Kick that ball.
Yeah, keep that leg lively, bro. Let's talk about our releases, because in some ways, sadly, these are a bit more noteworthy. So let's get to the big one last. Let's start off with Terrence Knighton not being back. Anybody majorly surprised by this?
No.
No.
Me either. I felt like I kind of saw this coming. He didn't really do enough. He had a lot of hype in the last offseason, which is probably partially our fault, but he never really lived up to it, and he was never really that disruptive force. So.
Well, you see, Terrence Knighton's a guy who bet on himself and then, drew a 6. Yeah.
Right. That's a great way.
He didn't get face card. Yeah.
He said hit me when he had 20.
Right.
And he got a 6.
Right.
That's a good way to look at it. I hope things do work out for him. He seems like a good guy. I mean, he sounded like he was good in the locker room and everything, but yeah, it just you're an over 30 above average, but closer to the average nose tackle at this point.
Well, I'm also not sure he really fits the prototype of where interior defensive linemen are going.
No, he doesn't. He's what you wanted 5 years ago.
He's big and fat, and he's not fast. And what we want is lean and fast.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. Another noteworthy release, a guy who never really played up to his billing, would be Jason Hatcher not coming back. And I think this was probably more than anything a money-saving move because he saves the team like $8 million or something by not coming back. Not a hard call to make, I would think, when you never really were that productive for us ever.
No.
He had like one good game for us.
Yep. Well, I mean, he had one good season, but this year, yeah, he didn't do much.
No, not much at all.
But I don't even think it was his fault. It's just he's getting old and worn down. You know, he starts off the season pretty well. Every season he's been here, he's been pretty good for about 3 games.
Right.
And then it just goes downhill because just physically he just can't do it anymore.
We were talking about it before the show, Steve. You hit your 30s and things just start falling apart.
And when you hit your 40s, it's really over.
Right.
It's a good book, by the way.
All right, well, so maybe we get to the big one now, guys. Are you ready? Are you guys
Is
ready
there
for
another
this?
one?
I
There's-
don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah, this might have not a lot of press going on for this guy, so you might not have heard about this in the news. But if you remember this player, Robert Griffin, I think am I getting that right? I think
What
I'm getting
position did he play?
corner or no? He was a quarterback. He was a
Safety?
quarterback.
I think
I heard he was a
safety.
practice
He was a
squad. I heard
safety.
he was a practice squad safety.
That's what it was. Exactly. And I saw him once go out for a pass, so he was like a safety wide receiver kind of thing.
Hybrid.
Wasn't quite
he was
tough
like-
enough.
No.
He
Two-way
was like
player.
a high school do-way player, yeah, like you do in high school.
Right. Well, the story with him is that he's going where all strange, hard to define players go, to Cleveland.
Right.
So good for you, Robert. He's in talks with
He's
the Browns.
going where quarterbacks go to die.
Exactly. I think he
And
might.
wide receivers go to die, and
Everyone goes to
defenders go to die.
I
Even
will say
fans
this though.
go die. Yeah. So he's in
Um,
talks with them. Nothing obviously written in stone yet, but he's expressed previously his desire to go to Cleveland, and they are really trying to work those deals out. So I would imagine that this happens, and it happens within the next few days, very soon.
You know, we can say this for Cleveland. They have a new coach in Hugh Jackson, who Redskin fans know. He's a much more level-headed guy than some of the coaches they've had in the past.
Yeah.
The problem with Cleveland and why it's such a mess is that they have one of the worst owners in sports.
Right.
You know, they have a guy whose company is being investigated by the feds, for corruption and all sorts of other things. And he's a guy who has a history of firing everybody every season. So I'm hoping that maybe for the sake of Robert Griffin, who we still like and appreciate, that Hugh Jackson can kind of turn it around and have some stability for him. Because I'd like to see it work out for Griffin.
It's going to be interesting because Jackson is a disciplinarian. He's not Jay Gruden. He's not one of those players coaches. He's a hard ass that
More like Shanahan.
Yeah, but I
Are
think
you telling me that Hugh Jackson's not going to put up with a purple nurple?
No, I don't think he would.
No. I think Hugh Jackson would rip your arm off.
So here's a question I have for you guys, and bear with me. What is the huge difference? You've got to pick one of these guys, Johnny
Who?
Manziel or Robert Griffin. Which one do you pick? And tell me, after you answer, what is the discrepancy between them? Is it a huge gap? Is it a razor thin gap? Tell
Who
me.
was the third person?
No third person.
Oh, I
gotta
thought you
pick
said
between
3.
those two. No,
Oh, those
you gotta
two,
pick between
okay.
those two. I know you want a third option, but you can't have it.
Damn it.
Who do you roll with?
John Beck is your third option, Robbie.
Oh, there you go. Okay, we'll roll with that.
John Beck.
Or Pat White, yeah.
Pat White. There you
Look.
go.
So I guess
It's very
where I'm going
clearly-
with this question, guys, is this. It kind of surprises me that a team can both cut complete ties and say they're completely over one dude and then
Right.
go for another dude who's got similar problems. I'm not going to say they're the same, but the nature is similar for both of them.
I think, you
Griffin has the added
Well-
injury problem.
I think you have to choose Robert between Johnny Manziel. I mean, Johnny Manziel, you can't count on him to protect himself off the field. I mean, he gets himself in trouble
Yeah.
just by going out with his friends. He's completely out of control.
Well, yeah, he's about to get indicted,
Yeah,
by a grand jury for a felony. But look, even if you put a good head on Johnny Manziel and assume he's not an alcoholic or addicted to some other substance, which it appears as though he is, based on the fact that he was in rehab for 90 days at least. But if you make him into a good citizen, he's still far, far behind Robert Griffin. He's sort of a poor man's Robert Griffin. He's athletic, but he's not quite as athletic. He played in a same sort of spread system
but he doesn't have Robert Griffin's arm. He doesn't have Robert Griffin's speed. And so I think between the two of those guys, you have to take Griffin, even if Manziel is a good citizen, which he's not.
Manziel played miracle ball. That's all it was. It was just scrambling around, avoiding sacks and just chucking it up for like this miracle big game.
But a
Mike,
lot of people would say the exact same thing about Griffin. And keep in mind, I love Griffin so much. But I guess a lot of people would say the exact same thing about him. And I don't know. Steve, part of me thinks, listening to what Steve said, part of me thinks, are we still sort of fantasizing this 2012 speed of Griffin? I mean, we haven't seen anything since then, partially because he's been off the field. We haven't seen anything since then to say he still has that. So really, are they athletically that different?
I think they are because the arm. I think
The arm strength.
I think that Griffin definitely has the stronger and more accurate arm. He might, he has the other issues that we've gone over with the pocket presence and everything. But
Yeah.
I think I still think that if you put Griffin in a system where where you're not relying on him too much, you don't want him to throw it 50 times a game, but you give him a good system where he can just manage. He can at least work out for you. I actually really like this fitting of him in Cleveland. If nothing less, Cleveland's probably still going to draft somebody to be their quarterback of the future.
Yeah,
Griffin gives them that guy who can be there for a year or two. He'll play 10 to 13 games, which means your rookie can play a couple and learn as he grows up. And I think it works out well for them. And if Griffin turns his career around, even better. But I think it's a good fit for Cleveland. It might be a good fit for Robert, not being in a city like D.C. or New York or L.A.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit less media coverage, I actually think Johnny Manziel's not going to be in the NFL next year.
Oh, no.
I don't even think it's going to be a choice.
It's certainly
his
looking
career's
that
done.
way. Though he hired that agent, but it's certainly looking like you'd have to gamble a lot for a team to take him. But anyways, I wish
Well,
the
why
absolute
would you?
best for you.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But I wish the absolute best for Robert. I hope it works out well for him up there.
Same.
Let's talk really quickly before we move on. We know we have other topics, but Alfred Morris looking like this Dallas thing's going to happen. So the other twin tower of 2012 is going to a better division rival. We kind of had inklings of this happening a couple weeks ago, so it's just worth mentioning that potentially could happen. Redskins fans, steel yourself up for Alfred Morris in a Cowboys jersey.
Okay, so
No.
they can get 2 yards of carry from him this year.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? It's kind of a weird fit, honestly, because they don't run a lot of zone.
No, they run even more
they're
power
kind of
than
a
we do.
power scheme, and he's a zone back, and so I think it's a weird fit, to be perfectly honest.
That glove
I mean,
does
I
not
wish him the
fit.
best.
Yeah, I mean, he was a weird fit for Gruden. It's kind of the exact same story.
With the O-line
Yeah.
that they have, they'll open up holes that, I mean, even, I could run through. It's not, I don't think he's going to have that hard a time. It's just a matter of them signing him, You give him a wide open hole to run through, he'll hit it hard and just bulldoze through guys. But I don't know. It's not would be pretty sad to see him in a Cowboys jersey.
Yeah,
Well,
a little bit.
For sure. I can't blame him at all for doing it, obviously, but
Yeah,
No,
go get paid.
Now, let's move on to our next topic, though. Last question for you guys. One of them is going to have an excellent year. The other one's going to have a terrible year. I'm talking about RG3 and Alfred Morris. You get to pick which one's which. Who would you rather has the good year next year?
I would rather have RG3, especially if Morris is in Dallas.
Yeah. I lean that way myself.
Are you asking rather or who we think will?
No, rather.
What's the question?
Rather.
Rather?
Just rather.
Oh, well, obviously
Period.
Griffin, because, I mean, we don't want anybody in Dallas to have good
Yeah,
year.
we want Dallas to
That's
go
not even
0
a
and
question.
16.
In retrospect,
Right.
it's a stupid question.
Well, it's not definite that he's going to go to Dallas yet. I mean, they're
No,
still
it's not.
working
No,
it out.
No. Okay, but if Alfred Morris goes to any other of the 31 teams out there in this, then by all means,
your
get
answer?
2,000 yards. I'll be happy for you, but not Dallas.
There you go.
I personally would rather
I
see
really-
Alfred do well, assuming he doesn't go to Dallas, just because if Robert does do well and, relives the 2012 season, we're still never going to hear the end of it as Redskins fans.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
going to be,
yeah.
we let him go.
Right.
That's right.
Well,
Now
you
he's
know
doing
what?
this.
I hope he turns his career around and becomes an all-pro. I really do, because I still maintain I'm going to go down to my grave, I guess, thinking that the Redskins didn't really do right by the guy, and I do wish him all the best. I mean, he's gone and that's it, but I hope he turns it around for his sake.
Absolutely. Well, moving on from that then, Alex, I hear we have some exciting news in the DC sports world. We got a team come to town?
We do. And let me just say, okay, so the Verizon Center has been pretty good to us as a show somehow for the past few months.
Yes, we need to talk about that quickly.
Yeah. Sean, I don't know if you want to say where you got your the tickets from to the Wizards
Absolutely.
game.
I'd love to take this opportunity to say our good friend of the show, the Hawkstie's great close friend, Al Koken. He is the man. He provided us with free floor tickets to the Wizards game the other night. It was awesome. We had free food. We had free beer. It was great. Saw them against the Indiana Pacers. Lost by 1 point, but what a great experience. Awesome times. Thank you, Mr. Koken. If you don't know Al Koken, he covers the Capitals in the D.C. area. It's kind of a local sports celebrity.
He's been their play-by-play guy for, 20 years or something like that?
He's the guy. He actually, Smoking Al, he's actually the guy who coined the term Dan Jazeera, speaking about Dan Snyder's media arm. He calls it Dan Jazeera. Yeah. I think it's hilarious. Yeah. But anyways, Smoking Al Koken, check him out if you're a Capitals fan, especially. Really good guy, really good friend of the show, and provided us with these awesome tickets.
Well, really good friend of yours. You've known him most of your life.
Yes.
Can you get him on the show?
Absolutely. I'm sure I could. I don't know if he's that good of a friend. He might not want to take the
He gave you some. He gave you
floor side tickets. I don't know if he'll get on the show, but he gave us floor side tickets.
I don't know if any of the four of us have the ability to talk hocky, but we can have him on. It'd be great to hear what he has to say.
He has all kinds of great.
I know they have
thoughts
sticks. That's about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was just a little tangent on the Verizon Center. But there's the other big thing is the Verizon Center next year is going to have the first DC football team in about 20 years as the Arena Football League comes to Washington.
That's gonna be fun.
I am all in on that.
So Alex, they are going to be playing in the Verizon Center, or what's the situation here?
Okay, yeah. So the deal is this. Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Capitals, the Mystics, and the Wizards, he bought the rights to have the Washington, D.C. Arena Football League team start in 2017 at the Verizon Center. This is also in tangent with the fact that they're opening up a second stadium for the Mystics down in my area, kind of my area, in the Anacostia area, my side of the river, I like to say.
Okay.
And, I mean, so some people have asked me this, just as a tangent. Dan Snyder apparently owned the rights to an AFL team here for a long time. And
that's true, he did.
I think he gave them up, I guess, when the AFL bankrupted during the recession, is what it sounds like to me. I haven't looked into it that much, but that would.
But this is not a resurgence
sense.
of the same team. This is an entirely new organization that's coming to DC.
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve?
Well, let me. For those of you who've listened to us for any length of time know that Alex geeks out over arena football almost every single week.
I geek out about arena football, stadiums, jerseys, other minor leagues like the UFL, which was down in Robbie's area.
Well, here's my question,
USFL.
What I'm getting at here, and they were kind enough to give Alex a T-shirt, and
I'm sure I won it just in a fan contest. It's not like I asked.
but tell us what I'm curious about is tell us what is great about Arena League football.
To me, as just a fan of the sport, you're watching guys, and one of my big drawbacks with pro sports is the money that gets involved. You see, there are certain players who they're just in it for the money. They were born with this talent, but they don't care as much, and so you don't see that in the in these minor leagues in general.
Right, because if you play for the AFL, you play for fun.
You're playing because you want to keep your dream
for the money.
Exactly.
Not for the women. He told us that. Remember what he's talking about?
Yeah. You're playing because you want to keep that shot alive at going pro. So there's that grit to it. I love the fact that the game is a lot more fast paced than the NFL.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you do get the stories like Kurt Warner. Ty Nsekhe, Jay Gruden even would count as one of those a guy who just made it from out of there.
Right.
So it's for those reasons. I just love the and also first off, there are a lot of sports that I just can't stand indoors. Okay, I don't really care about hockey. I don't care about basketball that much. I enjoy baseball, but more football is always good. So football in the spring and summer better.
Yeah, find another way to get cheap, excellent tickets to a football game.
Yeah, I think season tickets starts at $50.
There you season ticket. There you go. See, and there's nobody.
Season tickets, $50, huh?
Well, I
Wow.
think that's the starting. Yeah.
So
we can't even
affordable
park
football.
at FedEx Field.
Right.
Think about this. You can't park at FedEx Field for $50 for one game.
Nope.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't they raise the minimum price to 50?
Yes, to $50.
Wow.
Yes.
Jesus.
So we're talking about
ridiculous.
parking at FedEx Field for one game, or season tickets to the what's the name of this
We
team,
don't have.
Alex?
They don't have a name yet. That's why the shirt I have just says Washington AFL on it.
Yeah, it's safe to assume it's not going to be red anything.
No. Well,
perhaps we can get someone from.
they're going to have red as the team color. We know that.
Red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Everything at the Verizon Center is red, white, and blue.
So they'll match.
Well,
did.
perhaps we can
Ted-
have someone from the team on this show one of these days to pimp the product.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody write
Alex.
that down in a notebook. We
Well,
gotta do-
when they sent me the shirt, I did
have a
ask
notebook right
their PR person, and they said, "Look, we don't really have a team put together yet or anything. Let us
There's
get a
nothing to
name, a
talk
team,
about.
some jerseys, and then we can talk."
Hey,
Ted did say he's going to keep an eye on social media to get ideas for the name of the team.
The Washington
Hey, look,
Alexes
this
sound
team-
really good.
This team is desperate enough that they just may stoop to appearing on our show.
They're gonna. Here's another thing
we
that
could become the
they're doing
official
that's-
voice of the team, guys. We might have to ditch.
Screw the Redskins.
Yeah.
Here's
Alex
one
can go
thing-
be their mascot.
Here's one thing that I can go into a whole story. I was offered a job to be a mascot when I was 15, but
Why does that not surprise me at all?
yeah, well, I didn't take it.
Thank him.
But I was going to say this. One of the things I love about what Ted Leonsis is going to do, he's all about 21st century marketing. Like all the games will be streamed online through their network and stuff like that. So I love looking at the future and planning that way. I like that.
Yeah, me too. I actually think it's a very cool thing. The whole thing. So,
And I'm going to do a spin-off podcast. I just need to find a co-host.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's move on then to our final
I'm not
topic.
going to read the AFL collective bargaining agreement. I'm just telling you right now.
Oh,
Thank
Steve, come
goodness.
on. You know you get it. Your little heart goes pitter-patter at just the thought of that, doesn't it? All right, well, speaking of Steve's wheelhouse here, maybe this is a good place to go next. And I don't know, we're probably way over time, but let's get this in anyway because I think it's cool. So Hulk Hogan's $115 million settlement against Deadspin and parent company Gawker Media, I guess, is the one who's ultimately culpable for this.
Ugh.
If you don't know the story,
Yeah.
just to go over it very briefly, Hulk Hogan has a sex tape, which, it's a genius thing to do as you're a celebrity, make a sex tape. What
Right.
could go wrong? He makes a sex tape. Gawker gets their hands on
You
it.
guys want to see mine?
Oh, God.
No.
Oh, God. It just stopped me in my tracks, bro. Anyways, Gawker gets their hands on it. They air like 9 seconds of it, and the shit hits the fan. Hulk Hogan brings the lawsuit. I believe it's invasion of privacy, and there we go. From
Showed
there. So
Hulk-
Steve, can you talk us through this?
It showed Hogan
Yeah, well, first
now.
of all, let's just clarify the facts. Number one, it wasn't a settlement. He won a jury verdict. It's not
won
a
in
settlement.
court.
He won at trial. Yeah, but he didn't really have a sex tape. What happened was that he had sex with his friend's wife, and this is Bubba the Love Sponge for those
Right.
of you who are radio geeks, and apparently
It's called
Bubba.
cuckolding, by the way.
Yeah, well, apparently, okay, well, there you go. And Alex has got a name for it. But apparently, Bubba had a history of recording his wife with other men, and that's what he did to Hulk Hogan, according to the jury, unbeknownst to Hulk. And yes, Deadspin got a hold of it, published 9 seconds of it. And so the verdict was in favor of Hulk. But what's interesting, there's two things interesting. Number one, the $115 million verdict was $55 million in economic damage, and then $60 million for emotional distress. Now, two things really stuck out. It's how on earth does Hulk get to $55 million in economic damage? This is damage that you can that's tangible and that you can count.
Right.
Like you wreck your car and the car costs $5,000. That's the I don't know how he got to 55 million. And the other thing is the 60 million in emotional distress. That's ripe for an appellate court to tear that to shreds. That's never going to stick. In those kind of big verdicts where the jury goes crazy on emotional distress, that's going to get chopped down. And there was also 25 million in punitive damages awarded too. So the verdict was actually 130 140 million.
Big number.
Real quick, I would assume that a big chunk of that 55 million for economic distress or whatever,
Economic damages.
economic damages is the fact that he lost his job, like that the WWE and his perpetual contract he had with them was torn up.
Well, maybe that's it then. I
Yeah.
wasn't aware that that had happened to him. So
Yeah,
that-
well,
they can't
maybe
employ a
apparently
that's-
he
dude with a
says
tiny
certain things on the tape, ethnic slurs of sorts, and that
Wait,
caused the WWE.
He's just hold on. He's having sex with his buddy's wife while screaming out ethnic slurs. I need to watch this video. This is
and he
fantastic.
made 140 million out of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a genius, guys!
But
I
what's
gotta-
in- but here's
I can
what's
think of all
interesting
the
about the-
parodies of this already.
Yeah.
I bet.
What's really interesting about the lawsuit from a legal perspective is that Gawker/Deadspin's defense was that we are a legitimate media outlet and this is news and it's protected by the First Amendment. And the jury rejected that argument and said, no, you're not legitimate news. You're nothing but crappy tabloid. And this 9 seconds of video is not news and is not protected by the First Amendment. And that's actually a pretty big step because the media usually wins those arguments.
Yeah.
So that's actually big. But expect Hulk to not collect anywhere near 140 million. If I had to bet, I would say the appellate court's going to tear that to shreds.
Right.
Sure, but
Plus,
I mean,
he's-
they'll still. Odds are that Gawker, who all even if the appellate courts cut down the total, Gawker will still have to pay something in the end.
Oh yeah. There's going to be Well, I mean, the appellate court could reject a jury verdict and overturn the jury verdict and say no, this is protected by the First Amendment. They could do that, or they could uphold the verdict and reduce the amount of damage. So there's two things that could happen.
Oh, okay.
Or they could just uphold everything. But I'm just telling you, those kind of verdicts where the jury goes nuts just never stand ever.
Kind of like the Aaron Andrews thing as well. Like
That one's going to get torn apart too, probably.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to bring up, just for the base notion that her privacy. This is not a tape that she made with somebody's friend or anything like that. She got peeping Tom like through a peephole.
Criminal charges.
Criminal charges. She got her 55 million, and Hulk Hogan sued and got 115. So that is a kind of a crazy discrepancy considering the nature of the two issues.
Yeah, but neither one of them are going to collect anywhere near that amount. I'm just telling
no,
you.
I mean 30% is going to go to like lawyers, and then you've got
but forget that. Yeah, that's true. But
and it's all going to get knocked out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the problem. I think Aaron Andrews has a better case to keep her jury amount, her jury verdict, just because it's a much more reasonable number. Number one, and her privacy was undeniably invaded in a way that Hulk Hogan's arguably was not.
right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if your buddy Bubba the Love Sponge is into that. Maybe you should expect that there might
Back
be a camera.
away from dry out the sponge.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, Bubba the Love Sponge is also my nick. Never mind. So let's move right along there before that settles in. Is there anything else we should talk about today, guys? Got a couple other things happen in the sports world. Peyton Manning's getting a statue. The NFL's proposed all kinds of rule changes. Maybe we save that for next time. We got so much to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we could save some of that for next time. Real quick. Oh, Robbie, you have something?
Well, yeah, you go ahead and say your thing.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, one thing we didn't get to is this talk of McLuhan wanting to somehow add more draft picks.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think he wants all the draft picks.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
basically
exactly.
his theory. As many of them as he can possibly get his hands on, he wants.
People think that means he's going to trade out of the 21st pick, which I really don't think is going to happen.
No.
He didn't trade his first round pick either. He didn't trade back to go somebody else. He took the pick at number 4 or 5. Sorry, he took it at number 5, and then he traded back and later in the draft. You can easily trade back in those later rounds. It's not like your first rounder is your only legitimate option to trading back. So I guarantee he's gonna take that 21st pick, maybe even the second pick, and then he'll start trading down like the third.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of value in this draft in that 4th round area. So if you can trade that 3rd and get a 4th and a 5th or something, that would make a lot of sense to me. I think that what you're going to see is a lot of these guys there's a lot of like day 2 guys, and so a lot of them will drop.
This D-line draft class is going to make it so easy to trade down too. Other teams are going to be, say, infatuated with this one defensive tackle.
Sure.
And it's going to give you, all the ammunition you need to trade down. We want this guy. All right, well, just give us your your third and your fourth. That kind of thing. It's going to be really easy to trade back, I think.
Yep.
A lot of conversation in the last few weeks about how this has been a relatively quiet start to free agency for the Redskins. A lot of players released, a lot of money saved, not a whole lot of guys signed. Do you imagine this fan base having a meltdown if he starts trading picks?
I say thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
quiet.
I hope everybody.
I think the fan base may go crazy. At least this fan right here may go crazy if he does trade out at 21. For multiple second or third rounders. I think we need that elite talent we can get at 21 this year.
Right.
But if he wants to trade every other pick, I'm all for it. But I think he needs to keep the first rounder. As long as he does that, we'll be fine.
Well, I'm kind of with you, but at the same time, let's say we get to the 21st pick and all the guys he really had ranked in the first round are gone.
What are the odds of that happening, though?
Oh, it's the 21st pick. A lot of things can happen. I'm just saying. Let's say Billings is off the table. Let's say all the safety prospects are off the table.
Well, he'll just have to draft Christian Hackenberg then, if that's the case.
Come on, I'm just
dare
being,
You're just pulling my leg.
You don't want to stretch. You don't want to stretch for a guy who you think's a second rounder in the first round. If that happens and somebody does say, get a first rounder next year and a second rounder this year, why wouldn't you take that?
I'm just telling you. I just know me. Mm-hmm. I do not want to. I want to see us draft a player at 21. I refuse to believe in as deep a draft as we have that everybody who has a first round grade is going to be gone. Because I've been hearing from you guys, for weeks now, particularly Robbie, talking about how deep the draft is and how many first round talents are in lower. Can stretch out into the middle part of the second round. So I refuse to believe that there's going to be nobody worthwhile at all.
Okay.
21.
Well, what if you were hypothetically trade back to like the 25th pick in the first round and pick up a second rounder?
You're not hearing me. I want a player selected at 21. That's what I want. I'm sorry. It's going to bug me, okay? I know it will bug me.
I hear both sides of it, though I'm kind of with you, Steve, just because it's been so quiet so far. We've got to fill those voids with someone. I'd like it to see someone higher in the draft than not. Right. But I also completely trust Scott, so, if it happens, I ain't going to freak out.
We are talking about a guy who picks guys in the 5th round who become starters.
Exactly. I was going to say, in the grand scheme of things, the more picks Scott has, the more chances of our draft being really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus, all of this is going to clarify as free agency continues to roll along. Who knows how our draft priorities are going to change? So keep your eyes on that, and we will too, and share with you guys what we learn and observe. So stick around. We'll take you through the offseason. Lots of good stuff coming up. Thank you guys for being with us. We turn 1 year old in a week. So we'll have to plan something cool for that
Happy
episode.
birthday to us.
Happy birthday to us. It's a week in advance, though. So everybody, all my fellow Hogstires, get home, make your little wish lists tonight for what you want for your first birthday.
I'll make myself some cupcakes.
There you go. Make some cupcakes. Put one candle in each. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will leave you with that. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Why did we really have to leave us with that?
You can edit that out, Alex.